sound instead of the sound that you expect. Think about rhythm. Rhythm is important in English, and it's connected to weak forms. If you can use weak forms correctly, then your rhythm is improved. John has been trying to send you an email. Not as many Italians would say as, John has been trying to send you an email. Of course, it's not you, I know. It's not you. But many Italians would say something like this. They get the stress on email wrong. They'd say email. That's wrong. It doesn't exist in English. You say email. And again, you would get a stress on trying. John has been trying to send you an email. And all the rest is sort of squeezed up. This is what happens in English. So you would get a weak form, for example, in has. Has would be reduced to something like z. And been would be reduced to been. Many Americans would normally say been. I've been to America, they would say, instead of I've been to America. Okay, contractions. Now I know that you know that contractions do exist, but do we use them? I don't know. Contractions are normal in English, okay? Even that kind of contraction is very normal. A cab will stop. I think Italians would normally say, a taxi will stop. But a cab will stop is another possibility. And that double L is normally oo. If we don't use contractions, we might sound very formal, very detached. Not wrong, but very formal. In English, try to use contractions because they are used. Assimilation. Now, assimilation is when two sounds become similar. Two sounds which are either very close to each other or distant, not near. For example, if we take the word famous, if I ask you, how do you say famoso? You probably say famous with an S on the end. But if we put it together with ship, then we're likely to hear a famous ship, not a famous ship. Of course, if you say a famous ship, it's possible, nobody will kill you. It's just less fluent, less English. Well, it is still English, but native speakers are likely to say a famous ship because they make the sound s on the end of famous similar or the same as the sound sh at the beginning of ship. The same in he said you did. He said you did, yes. He said you did. If you want to assimilate it, you would get something like he said you did. He said you did. When you have a D on the end of a word and the next sound is y, you can assimilate the two sounds. You can get j. He said you did. This is not slang, it's not dialect, it is the standard pronunciation. It is in dictionaries. It's like, how do you know? What do you do? It's not slang. Sometimes I hear teachers teach this. Sometimes they refuse to teach this because they think it's either American English, which is also American English, but it's standard, and some of them think it's slang. No, don't teach that. It's slang. It's not slang. Statue. That's another word you use in your job. I hear lots of people say statue, which is possible, but it's very old-fashioned. In statue, you hear this assimilation. You normally say statue today, but in the past, people would use the pronunciation statue a lot because that's what they would say. Today, it's possible to say both, but statue is the more common. Elision. Now, elision is when you don't pronounce a sound. That's what you found. That's represented by a letter in the spelling. For example, I'll ask them would be I'll ask them. I'll ask them. Now, ask is ask, but because there are too many consonants there, ask, and the k in the middle can go. So you get I'll ask, and then them, remember them is reduced. I'll ask them. If you say, I'll ask them, it's exactly like I took all of them. You're highlighting something. You're contrasting them with something else. Now, liaison, this is not French. Liaison is English. Well, it is taken from French, of course, but it's also used in English phonetics to talk about the linking of the R in words like far, becoming far, if the next word begins with a vowel sound. You know that in British English, in standard British English, you don't pronounce an R if it's at the end of a word. So words like máquina, a car, not car. It's not wrong to say car, of course. That's standard in American English, for example. But in British English, standard British English, you don't say car, you say car. British English in general, not standard, you can also say car. But people are normally considered as uneducated if they say car and they come from England, for example, from Wales or whatever. In America, it's the other way round. If you say car, you sound British, you sound, some people would say, yes, homosexual. There was a kind of piece of research. Many Americans think, not many, but some Americans think that if you say car, you sound as homosexual, because British people are all basically, so anyway, I say car and I don't say car. I don't like car, but I was brought up saying car or far. But I say far away because I make this link. It's also possible not to say far away. You can also say far away. No problem. But it's more natural to say far away. In British English, though, there is also another linking, another R, which is not called linking, it's called intrusive. Some people call it intrusive. In the second sentence there, I saw it. Now, you look at the three words there, you say, how is it possible to say I saw it? Well, many people say I saw it because in British English, when you have a vowel, and the vowel would be or in saw, and the next sound is another vowel, they normally link the two vowels up with r. It's a kind of, it's a way of representing the linking R in far away. So in standard British English, you would say, I saw it. I saw it. I say I saw it. For example, I've got an idea. My idea is, instead of my idea is. You don't have to do that. You don't have to say that, but you will hear lots of people do that. It's called intrusive R because the R is not in the spelling, but it's there. And then intonation. Now, intonation is one of the most difficult parts of English pronunciation, if you like. It is not, if pronunciation is not taught, let alone intonation. During the course, if we have time, we'll look at some of the patterns, some of the intonation patterns that you might want to use in your job. One of them, for example, is when you introduce yourself, or when people basically introduce themselves. If you hear people say, "Hi, I'm Max. I'm your tour guide." What do you think? Well, this guy is probably asking himself a question. Huh? I'm Max. I'm a tour guide. He doesn't know he's a tour guide. Well, this is a new pattern, a relatively new pattern in English intonation, which is called uptalk. It's using your voice going upward, if you like, while saying a statement. So I can say, hello, I'm Alex, and I'll be your teacher today. And I can say, hello, I'm Alex, I'll be your teacher today. And you might say, you don't know you'll be our teacher? It's a relatively recent pattern, but it's used quite a lot, usually in statements, but people have written books on that. So you can use that, for example. You can hear that in statements, but also when you want to attract people's attention. if you look at the second sentence, the visit's scheduled for Monday. If somebody wants to correct you and they want to say, no, it's not on Monday, it's on, okay. In Italian, you would probably say, the visit's scheduled for Monday. No, Tuesday. This would sound arrogant in English. If you use a downward pattern with your voice on Tuesday, you would sound very arrogant. It's like, oh, how stupid of you. You didn't know it was on Tuesday. In English, if you want to sound friendly, very often you use, your voice should go up. So you would hear people say, the visit's scheduled for Monday. Tuesday, and it's not a question. It would not be a question. It would be correcting somebody politely. Okay, so again, this is different from Italian or any other language that you might speak. You might want to know something about that because you don't want to sound arrogant in your job. Again, all of these features we will discuss together on our course. It's quite a lot of stuff, as you can see, but we'll try and pick out the main things. Being able to pronounce English with clarity and accuracy will also help you understand native speakers better. If you know some of these rules, you also know what to expect. And this goes for British English, American English, Australian English, any kind of major accent, if you like. During the course, we will also be talking about some words of uncertain pronunciation, words that you might be using in your job that you might want to know the pronunciation for, like those words you see. Now, these are only some of them. I'll help you, maybe we can discuss them if you want, and I'll show you what the dictionary thinks about those words. You will find that even native speakers are very uncertain about the pronunciation of those words. So don't be so worried about them. Just go for one pronunciation that is clear, and that's it. Okay. Just to give you some examples, I would say number one as leokoon. Leokoon. I don't know what you want to say, but native speakers would normally say leokoon. Leokoon. Okay. You might find native speakers who don't know anything about leokoon, so they don't even know how to pronounce that. But standard British English would have leokoon. 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 Leikun, I've never heard leikun, and it's not in dictionaries. It's not in dictionaries. I'll show you the transcription in the dictionary so you can... Now, this is the... let's see if we can... Okay. This dictionary has a CD-ROM which contains the whole text of the dictionary, plus all the spoken versions of the words, of the pronunciations. The pronunciations you see in blue, in blueprint, are those recommended for non-native speakers. Then there are other variants which are not recommended, but they're also used. So if you're interested, you might want to look for pronunciations that you don't use or that are used. Let's look at leo. Okay, here it is. So I say leokoon. Let's listen to the pronunciation.
Leokoon.
Leokoon. Listen again. Listen again.
Leokoon.
Leokoon. Now, can you see all those horrible symbols up there? No, it's impossible because the computer won't allow me to do that. But But I'm sure you can see the blue transcription and the short syllable un at the end of the blue transcription, that is just a variant pronunciation. So you could say leokoon, but you can also say leokoun. But you don't say leikun. It's not to be found in any dictionary I've got. In American English, they would say leakoan, and something like that. Leakoan, something like that. Okay, this is just to give you an idea of what... okay. So, leokuon, then I say Aristotle, but I must say I've heard native speakers say Aristoteli. Aristoteli doesn't exist. Well, it's not the normal pronunciation. It's not in dictionaries. Aristotle is the one people use. Augustus. And then I say Zeus. But for Zeus, there are many different pronunciations. I think the recommended one is Zeus, but if you use a different one that's in the dictionary, then it's fine. Okay. Then I say Ezekiel. Ezekiel. I don't know what you say, but I say Ezekiel. That's in the dictionary. Definitely not Ezekiel. No. Then architecture. I've heard people say architecture, as if they come from the north. But no, architecture, with stress on the first syllable, architecture. And then, when I was little, I heard lots of Americans say Constantine, and some people say Constantine. And I asked an American person, one of the tourists I was working with when I was 18, and the American said, no, we say Constantine. Well, they say Constantine. I said, but I've heard people say Constantine, and you don't know. Well, I say Constantine. Well, in American English, it's usually Constantine, but British people can say Constantine, Constantine. They're both acceptable. And then we come to Tor. Now, for that word, you have very many different pronunciations, and that is one of the things that are changing basically in English pronunciation today.